Hello YouTube, this video is going to be a tutorial on how to solve the Rubik's Cube blindfolded using the D2 method for corners. This video is going to consist of several parts. The first part will just be a short introduction on this method. The second part will be on how to execute normal targets. The third part will be on how to execute special targets. The fourth part will be on how to execute parity. And in the final part, I'm going over a few example solves. The first one will just be an easy, simple example solve that will not have parity, misoriented pieces, or cycle breaks. And the second one will be a more advanced example to show you how to use this technique efficiently. This video will be targeted at people who are currently using M2 for their edges. If you're using Turbo or 3-style, then you can still use this method, but I would rather recommend directly going to 3-style because 3-style is more efficient than D2. If you're currently using old Pacman, I'd really recommend first switching to M2. And I'm not going to be teaching you M2 in this video. I'll post a couple of links in the description below. Now, on this method. For edges, there is 3 key methods, not including Turbo. There is old Pacman. It is very easy, but also very high move count because it requires a PLL algorithm for every single target. Then there is M2, which is almost as easy, but a lot more efficient than old Pacman. And then there's 3-style, which is the ultimate method. It is very low move count, but it's also rather difficult and it requires a lot of practice to master it. Now for corners, on the other hand, there is old Pacman, which is again very easy but also very inefficient. Then there is also again 3-style, but then there's no real intermediate method. The only intermediate method I could find is the R2 method, which is also by Stefan Pacman. But the downsides of this method are first that it will require a lot of L moves because the swap move is R2, so we cannot use that later anymore. And second of all, it is not very intuitive. Finding the right set of moves is rather difficult with that method. So what I try to do is doing D2 instead of R2 and change our buffer into this, which is DLB or X in SPEFs. And then our shooting location will become DRF, which is V in SPEFs. And this solves both those problems. Now I'll be showing you how to execute the normal targets. And the normal targets are all targets for a corner in the top layer and this corner. The other 2 corners are special targets and they will require algorithms. There's a total of 6 algorithms then, 2 if you do not count reflections and inverses. Now, I'll directly be going into an example to show it. There. Now, our buffer is this, so we're starting our journey here. This one belongs here, which is M. Then that belongs here, which is I. Which belongs here, which is K. Which belongs here, which is A. So we have Mika. But how do you find the setup moves for an M target? Well, go back to your first days in cubing when you used layer by layer and imagine the corner that belongs here, which is this one, being at position M, like this. In this case, you would solve it by doing R, U, R prime. Now, that's going to be our setup move here. So it's going to be R, U, R prime, then D2, and then undo that setup. R, U prime, R prime. And as you can see, that fixed the corner. Now, our next one was I, which is here. So we're going to imagine this situation where our corner is here. In this case, we would solve it by doing U prime, R, U, R prime. So that's going to be our setup moves. U prime, R, U, R prime, D2, and then we undo the setup, R, U prime, R prime, U. Now our next target is going to be K, which is in the D layer, but that doesn't matter. We're just going to set this case. Now in this case we would solve it by doing double anti-sexy, like this. So in this case that's going to be a setup. We're going to do double anti-sexy, D2, and double sexy. And that solves our corner. And note that the D layer is offset by D2, but that doesn't matter as long as your target is in one of these 5 positions. Now our final one is going to be A. And since it's on the U face, it's rather tricky to execute. There's various ways of doing it. I like to do it like this. Then D2, then undo the setup, and that solves our cube. Alright, now we'll be going over the special targets, which are going to be the targets on these two corners. Now, please note that after an odd number of targets, our bottom layer will be offset by a D2. So a target that would usually belong here will then belong opposite to there, which is here. For example, if we have this, then our first target is going to be F, and the second target is not going to be L, because after that F, our D layer will be offset. So it's going to be opposite to that, and it will be here. So it's going to be FT. Okay. Now let's go over the execution. Okay, first I'll go over L, which is here. Now in this case, our algorithm is going to be X, then R, D2, R, U2, R prime, D2, R, U2, R2 prime, X prime, and D2. Now a T is opposite to L, and the target that's opposite is going to be the inverse. So in this case, our solution is going to be D2, then X, then R2, U2, R prime, D2, R, U2, R prime, D2, R prime, and then X prime. Now, next up, if we have an O, then it's going to be a reflection of that algorithm. So it's going to be X, Z prime, and then R prime, U2, R prime, D2, R, U2, R prime, D2, R2, then Z, X prime, and finish it off with a D2. Now with G, which is opposite to O, is going to be the inverse of that. So G is going to be first a D2, then X, Z prime, and then R2 prime, D2, R, U2, R prime, D2, R, U2, R, and then Z, X prime. Now next we have W, which is here, and W is going to be a variation of the A perm, but from a different angle. So it's going to be R, D prime, R, U2, R prime, D, R, U2, R2 prime, X prime, and a D2. And the U, being opposite to W, is going to be the inverse of that. So that's going to be D2, then R2, U2, R prime, D prime, R, U2, R prime, D, R, and X prime. Alright, now I'll be going over parity. Now in parity, I'm going to distinguish two cases, which is solving corners first and solving edges first. Now I'd recommend solving edges first because it makes parity easier to fix, but it's also doable when you're solving corners first. So do this scramble. Here. Now, our memo for edges is going to be F, and our memo for corners is also going to be F. That's really easy. Now I'm going to do this twice, first with edges first, and then with corners first. So with edges first, it's first going to be F, which is this. And now, normally we would have solved our edges, but here we're going to do another C. Like this. So now these two edges are swapped and all corners are in their correct position. Now we're going to do our corners. So we're going to do F, which is simple insert D2 and undo the setup. And now we see that all that's left is a simple end perm. And most people execute it from this angle, so you can cancel the rotation. And you can simply do it this. There. And your cube is solved. Now I'm going to do it with corners first. Okay, with corners first, first going to do our F, which is an insert D2 and undo. But now our edges on the bottom layer are also offset by a D2. So first we're going to have to do another D2. Now we're going to do our edges, so it's going to be F. Then we do another C, and now we again have an end perm. But note that it's offset by a D2 with respect to our end perm when we're doing edges first. So when doing our end perm, our last move will be an R prime, and not an R like it was when we were doing edges first.